Hello, everybody. I'm going to need your help for a quick sound check to hear how I sound because, as you can see, I am not at my local setup. So, if I have anyone watching, looks like I have a few on YouTube. If you can drop a comment, just make sure I'm coming in clear. That'd be fantastic. Want to make sure, if necessary, I can change up the audio and go to a different means of recording. So, but hey, hopefully everyone is doing great. Everyone knows me. My name is Andrew Crotty, also known as Ginger Hacker. And as you can see, I'm obviously not in my home currently. I am traveling, funny enough, for the military, as we're about to have an amazing, great sit down with one of my good friends and colleagues, Staff Sergeant Alex Householder, who is a current 17 Charlie in the Army Reserves with one of our cyber protection teams. Now, before Alex comes on and kind of before we get started, first and foremost, we are not talking for the Army. We are not promoting it. We're not promoted by the Army. We just like to talk about our passion of being what we do inside the service. And we understand the military is not for everyone, but we do respect and advise those that we've had a lot of requests come in off the prior videos for the 17 Charlie things you should know beforehand going to course and having Alex on the channel. So yeah, we're pretty excited to swing him back on to answer some on live questions as we go down the pipeline. And we have a great list as well we've already created to ask Alex once he gets on the channel. But hey, if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. My name is Andrew. I also go by Ginger Hacker. And what you have stumbled upon is the Breaking Into Cyber series. Now, what we do here on the channel is we talk to folks, everyone from juniors and seniors in college to SOC managers, directors, engineers, system admins, and we get to hear their story of how they broke into cyber. And it's really fun because we get to hear multiple different stories and ways of how folks do this. Unknown one, I see ya. How's it going, friend? Hey, how am I sounding in the chat, by the way? If someone can give me a thumbs up, thumb down. I see someone on Twitch, see some folks on YouTube. Am I coming in okay? Is it coming in a little echoey? How are we sounding here, stream? So hopefully well. I am rocking my Apple ear pods, so I'm hoping cool. Okay, hopefully they're coming. It's coming in cool. I'll take cool. So no, fantastic. Well, as I was saying, if you've not heard of us, there's two different ways you can kind of get involved to kind of figure out more about us. First off is checking out the Ginger Hacker Initiative. What we do is we offer scholarships to folks trying to break into cyber. This could be anyone from K through 12. It can be it could be your seniors going into college into tech. This could be your college students. It could be your career changers. This can be prior military, current veterans, first responders. And we provide scholarships training at either a completely free rate. Currently for SANS classes, there is still a discounted rate we're getting that we're unable to fund. But predominantly outside of that, we completely pay for your training, the studying, free mentorship, and we then allow the ability to get a voucher and training done and paid for by the Ginger Hacker Initiative in orders to help you ideally try to break into cyber by bypassing and helping cover that expensive cost for certifications. And yeah, it's a great way we like to think we can give back because obviously trying to break into the field financially with all the certifications that we have and having to pay for the continued CEPs can definitely ring up a price and get pretty expensive. So this is one way that we like to kind of give back and kind of help folks by providing that mentorship, maybe a certification here and there to help you try to get a leg up onto that path of breaking into cyber. Now, we're going to have a great talk with Alex today as soon as he gets online, and we're going to be talking about the 17 Charlie MOS. And for those that don't know what the 17 Charlie MOS is, that is the Cyber Operations Specialist. And what they do is they conduct offensive and defensive cyberspace operations, defending networks, target adversaries, and often involving 45 plus weeks of specialized training. Now, there are going to be some requirements, such as including your ASVAB score having a 110 GT or the 112 ST being a U.S. citizenship, being able to qualify for a top secret clearance. The benefits that we're going to talk about today are going to explain the high levels of training, technical skills, that a lot of civilian, high-paying civilian career opportunities are going to come knocking on your door, trying to get you to come take those skills you're learning and bring them to their place. So I am going to have my drink of choice. It is an orange Monster, so don't judge me. But Monster, if you would like to sponsor, please do, because I love orange Monsters and they're fantastic. But yeah, everybody. So what's new? Hopefully everyone's been doing well. Big updates from us as well. We just came from CypherCon in Wisconsin, also B-Sides in Milwaukee, which was fantastic. We had a great time. Was also with my dude, Josh Mason, repping Noob Village, which we are going to be at DEF CON this coming year, and our call for papers are open. So please check out Sessionize and submit your first call for paper. Come on, jump on, come talk at DEF CON, beat that stage fright, talk about a story about maybe how when you were breaking in, what noob mistake you made. And yeah, come be a part of the community. We love seeing everybody and have everyone come say hello to us. It's fantastic to see everybody as well. Hopefully, we have a few more amazing also folks coming onto the channel later this month. A few hackers, a few O-centers, a few engineers, a few pen testers as well that will be bringing their insights and how they broke into cyber to share with you all. There's a bit of sound. It's similar to when you breathe in a mic. I wonder if that is my headset. Let me see if I can change it to this. Is that better? Unknown one, since you're the one. It doesn't occur often. Oh, well, maybe it was a bad change to switch to the camera. How's the camera sound? Hopefully it's working better. Speak a bit more. There we go. Okay, so once upon a time, there was a ginger, and he had to travel all across the US because the military had to have him do training. And he flew to Texas, he flew to Washington, he went to Seattle. Nope, I don't hear any echoes. Awesome. Well, perfect. Is that better than unknown one? Just I don't hear any echoes, so that's good. I don't want echoes. Sounds good. Fantastic, dude. Thank you so much, man. Awesome. All right, we're gonna bring in Alex. All right. Hello.
Hello. Sorry for my weird background. I'm not sure why it's like cutting me out.
No, you're fine, man. My background as well is a little different because I am not at home. So, so real quick, Alex, can you hear me? We are live.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect, man. Get a little closer to your camera, and that might pick you up better.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's fighting with your background, probably because you don't have like just a generic wall or green screen. So
yeah.
No, but all good, man. Well, fantastic, man. Well, Alex, it's good to see you, dude. How you been?
Been pretty good. Just got off work. Working obviously a little extra today. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of movement in our organization right now. So trying to help out where I can.
No, of course, man. Well, I gave the quick rundown of what we're talking about today. I know I chatted with you. Popping a Monster? I like that snap.
No, it's a Dr. Pepper.
Okay. Well, I got my Monster, so we're rocking and rolling. So cool, man. No, I was telling the chat, it was actually funny enough that we're talking about 17 Charlie Ask Me Anything session, as I'm obviously traveling for military right now and also not at my normal setup. So, but I brought a webcam, brought my earpods, making sure the sound works relatively decent, which I believe we should be good. But yeah, Alex, I'm going to pass it to you for another quick introduction. I know we've done this before, but I think that was while you were Sergeant Householder. And I've done my preludes that, yeah, if you guess, we are both in the Army Reserves.
This is our personal opinion. We're not trying to talk for or for the government. We're just talking about our passion of being Army Reserve cyber soldiers and giving our insights of what it is like as a 17 Charlie. So there's our precursor warning prelude. But Staff Sergeant Householder, would you mind introducing yourself?
So I'm now Staff Sergeant Householder. Got my promotion orders January 1st of this year. Surprisingly, did not expect it. Very funny. Obviously, I've been a 17 series since 2024. I went to school as a sergeant, so it kind of shows how quickly you'll promote. Before that, I started my journey into cyber and switching my MOS to cyber in around 2022. The only reason why it took so long for me to go to school in 2024 is because the Army rolled out IPSA, which is their new HR platform, and a lot of people weren't really sure how to process it. So it was like 9 months of everyone kind of trying to figure out the process. I was the guinea pig in a way, but eventually they got me over, got my school date, went and did that for about 10 months, and yeah, then came home and got my job.
Fantastic, Alex. Well, I know we have a slew of questions, and as we go through any that pop through the comments, I'm going to hit our slew of questions that we kind of talked about before we started. So, we're going to kind of hit, I guess, maybe the day to day. So, maybe once you're getting ready to and you get done with schoolhouse, we'll kind of go to the post after. What is a typical drill weekend kind of look like in the reserves as a 17 Charlie?
So 17 Charlie, the reserves, a lot of times what it's going to be is you're going to be working on certs and other stuff. A lot of times it's, to be honest, a lot of times it's just do outs because it's hard for reservists to kind of get that stuff done when they're working their civilian job. So it'll be like making sure that your appointments are set, all your paperwork's updated, and then we'll try and like do a bunch of training as well. We have a really great Chief Scribner. I think has he interviewed on your channel before?
We're working on it. Hopefully, here in the next 30 days,
So
he will very likely be on.
He's an amazing like mentor too. Like he will bring in his own devices. Like he set up a full server for us and taught us how to use Proxmox, how to build your own home lab like effectively rather than just like binding a bunch of stuff together. But you know, that's basically what you'll do. So and then because cyber is I like to say cyber is a little bit more modern compared to a lot of the other army. So sometimes you'll do remote drills because obviously we do our stuff online. Sometimes you'll get to go to cool locations. There's also other ways you can have there's some other fun stuff too, is like you'll get like an hour and a half for lunch some days. Time permitting, so long as there's not anything. Like it's a lot of fun, honestly. Like I'm a lot happier here than I was being like military police before.
No, I totally get that too, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Where there's a little bit difference of how I think cyber soldiers train compared to Alex and I back being previous 31 Bravos military police. Our training and processes are mostly done online on keyboard compared to being a 31 Bravo military police officer. You're doing vehicle searches, you're doing foot patrols, you're learning how to search somebody. So no, I totally get that.
Especially in the Arizona sun, where it's like I once had to do as an MP, I had to do a vehicle search like for training in 110-degree heat. That was not fun. But yeah, definitely. I will say too that a lot of the like cybercore too, because it's more selective and it's smaller than a lot of other MOSs. You definitely get a higher class of soldier. Like a lot of there were very few people even in the schoolhouse that I disagree with. Like a lot of them everyone was kind of the same mind of like, hey, like we're here to like be good soldiers, but at the same time, like we're not trying to beat people over the head with like stupid taskers. So
that bleeds into our next few questions, I think, perfectly, actually. So we'll start with, and I know we've talked about this before, but we'll kind of rehash out some stuff. How long is AIT for 17 Charlie? And I can answer the where it is, and that's in Fort Gordon in Georgia. But yeah, how long is that process, and what's that daily schedule look like?
So as a MOS team, mine will be different than someone coming over like just regular, like joining the Army. So basically what it'll be is generally you will show up there. It'll be about 9 months. Could be longer depending on if you have security clearance issues or if you have any sort of issues with like a certain module. For privates that are just getting there, it can be a struggle. Like there were some privates, like there was a private there that was there for like 4 years, because he was going through a lot of issues with his security clearance. There were other privates that, in order while they were waiting to get classed up, they were there for about 6 months. It can kind of be a little hard, but it's basically just comes down to because if you're active duty, if active duty, brand new to the army, you are the lowest priority for them to put you in a class. If you
Oh,
are
wow.
if you are a reservist or National Guard, MOST, you are considered a higher priority because obviously, like that resource is finite. We're only budgeted for so much. You're getting paid by the
Yeah,
reserves,
that
so they
makes
want to
sense. I
get
was
you.
just going to
Yeah,
say that the funding for state and reserve teams is probably a lot more restrictive compared to your compo ones or your active duty soldiers. So now that totally makes sense.
yeah, and like same thing too. If you have issues as a reservist that are going to be like prolonged issues, like something with security clearance or where it's taking a little bit to get through, because obviously like the government's doing everyone's security clearances, so sometimes it can take a little bit to get your clearance through. What will end up happening is they may just send you home because the army does not want to pay for you to just kind of sit there and like waste away. They'd rather just send you back. Hey, well, when your clearance comes through, we'll set you up for phase 2 and you'll go do that.
No, awesome. I guess another
Um,
good question. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say for day to day. So basically, you'll wake up. It is a trade-off environment. So you'll wake up at like 05. For the privates, they will do their own PT with the drill sergeants following the trade-off schedule. For the MOS-Ts, they will be doing their own PT because at that point, you are a soldier. You have at least 4 years in the army. You should know how to do your own PT. If you don't, then it's big kid rules, big kid punishments,
Yep.
right? So they kind of will just generally do roll call and then they'll be like, all right, go to the gym, go. Like occasionally they would have us do like running the track just to like do a little camaraderie building, a little trauma bonding. And then that was pretty much it. But yeah, it was that would be that. And then we would be released. I couldn't speak for the private. They would go back to their rooms. They do breakfast and everything. There's a lot more freedom too in this AIT than there is for like a lot of other MOSs. But yeah, so we would then meet up for class, I believe around like 8:30, I think it was. So we would, if MOSTs would get to the class directly. The privates, though, would be marched over in formations from their barracks. Then you do your classwork until about, I believe it was 11:30 or 12. And then there'd be about an hour to an hour and a half of lunch. Come back in the afternoon, do more of your class work and all that. And
Nice.
then end of day would come around 4:15, I believe it was. At which point the privates would have their closeout formation. For the MOSTs, you'd be released. And the expectation for the MOSTs is just, hey, show up again. Obviously, with privates, they're in TRADOC. So they are, fortunately, there is a tighter leash on them. So it's one of those things where it depends on their phases of how much freedom they get and what they're doing.
I guess I'm going to go back a step and ask one additional question because I know we're dropping the term MOS-T. So what Alex is referring to is, so those in the military are ready. So such how Alex and I were both MPs. When you're reclassing to a new MOS or your job set in the military, when you're attending your new AIT, your advanced individual training, you're not really an AIT soldier. You're a MOS-T or someone that's just like more or less, you're already MOS queued, but just not in the right training. So you're can't remember the abbreviation for MOS. Military
Occupational Specialty.
Thank you. And then the T obviously stands for training. So you're a MOS-T, so you're just going through a training for that new MOS.
Oh, I thought it was transit.
Transit, thank you.
Yeah.
So, no, it's been a long day. I totally feel you. So I guess I have another question too. I mean, what did that process look like leaving the MPs or leaving that prior MOS, coming over to 17 Charlie?
So I don't know if it'll be the same for others, but for me, for some reason, my stuff had to go all the way up to the 200th MP command for them to sign off to release me as a specialist. So it took about 9 months because everyone was trying to figure out IPSA. There was a lot of like, new learning because it's like, hey, it's a single pane of glass, but then it was like figuring out how to do stuff and how the processes work. So it kind of got bogged down. It took me about 9 months to come over. But it got a little bogged down, and what ended up happening is like we did have to do some outreach to figure it out. It ended up with me. There was one signature I was waiting on, and so I ended up just getting. I got a little frustrated, so I just called the person that we were waiting on, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I've actually been out of office for 2 months. I'll have to. I can come and help you real quick. Like, let me just. Okay, you're good to go." And I got released from the MP Corps. It was funny too because I picked up my E5 on the first of the month I got released, and then they sent me over to the Cyber Corps on the 13th, I believe it was. So what ended up happening is I asked them, I'm like, hey, like, am I gonna have to stay in MP to keep my rank? And they went, nah, just take it with you. And I was like, sweet.
It was like going away present is what I called it. So we do have a question, Alex, from Corey McCrack. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I have the option of going either 35 Tango or 17 Charlie. I've heard from the 35 Tango side of things, but would like a 17 Charlie perspective. Essentially protecting networks 17 Charlie or building networks 35 Tango.
So I would definitely say too, like we don't actually necessarily protect the network so much as we are like incident response. The way I would compare 17 Charlie is they're basically like QRF. Like there's 25 for like actually defending the networks. It's generally going to be, I believe it's 25 Delta, which is a signal. Yep. I will tell you too that we did have a bunch of 35 Tangos in 17 school, and they did find themselves very successful. They did not like being in Fort Huachuca though. They said it was pretty bad. But you know, there's nothing stopping you from like being a 35 Tango starting out and then getting that baseline of knowledge and then moving over to 17 Charlie later. 17 Charlie is, it's not an MOS where you're going to be like, oh, like we're full. And actually it can be more advantageous to come over later because you'll have that knowledge of how the Army works. You'll be able to teach them stuff. Like we had 35 Tangos in our class. One of them was a Corporal Strong, I believe, Strawn, which now he's Sergeant Strawn. Really cool guy from North Central. And then another guy was Corporal Parker, where they were both 35 Tangos and they were solid dudes. Like they really, especially Corporal Parker. Oh my gosh. Like that man could like code in his sleep.
See, I also, I guess, I've never been a 35 Tango, but the colleagues I know that have been 35 Tangos, they're also just high side system maintainers. So a lot of the stuff they also did, I wouldn't say they completely built out networks, but they were also like system admins for some of our higher side like tooling and like equipment. Personally, and call me biased, probably Alex as well, I would say go 17 Charlie. But I think Alex makes a really valid point. There's nothing wrong, and the cool thing with going, unless you're going active, if you're going into the National Guard of the Reserves, going from one MOS to the other isn't as difficult compared to the active duty side, trying to leave that contract to change over MOSs. So yeah, I think I would say whichever one I think you have a better or a more investment you think in, I would say go that route. But yeah, 17 Charlie is more like instant response, maybe like cybersecurity assessment-esque. Or
a lot
like
of intel analysis too.
Yes.
Like a lot of it builds off of becoming an intel analyst. I will also tell you too, though, if you want a challenge, 17 Charlie is going to be the greater challenge. Like and obviously, yeah.
That was the next question we had, Alex, actually, is with obviously not going into too detail, we're not here to talk about the class or going to the medals or any of that. But what would you say, maybe by phase, and then we can briefly skim across the phases, but what would you say was the most challenging part of your AIT as 17 Charlie?
I would definitely say phase 1 can be a challenge, especially if you haven't been like actively in school in a while, because it's a lot of studying and it's a lot of tests. It's basically like every week you're taking a test. And honestly, going through it, I will tell you, it feels like phase 1 is more testing your limits rather than it is like so much focused on teaching. It's more about like how quickly can you process and retain information. So that way, when you get to phase 2, where it's more of the, hey, we're going to stop holding your hand and you're going to kind of go and do it on your own. That's where you start hitting that run phase. So like phase 1's more like fundamentals. Like you'll learn how like computers work. You'll learn some coding stuff. You'll learn how to read code. You'll learn how subnetting works and all that, which the instructors for subnetting are amazing. I did not I'll tell you too, when I went to cyber school, I didn't know anything. Like I got my Sec Plus, but Sec Plus is mainly just like cramming as much information as you can. So when I went to cyber school, like I felt like I knew nothing, and I walked away with a ton of knowledge because a lot of it is built off of like they will build you up from like they'll build you up basically when you show up day one. They assume you've never touched a computer in your life.
Yeah.
Not sure how you would get into the cyber school with that, but they treat you that way because I once had someone explain to me, it was my old first sergeant from basic training, like back in the day, was everything in the Army is made for an 8th grade level. Like all their instructions, the way they teach is assuming like you have an 8th grade level education. So that way, like you can focus on building yourself up. But yeah, phase one's more focused on, like I said, it's more focused on that sort of like building in the fundamentals of like how computers and all that works. And then for phase two, it's more that running phase where you actually get to do some of the cool stuff, like, learning how to exploit things, learning how to recognize when someone's doing something to a device. Like it's a ton of fun. You also learn how to like do intelligence stuff too. So like it's definitely an MOS where if you want to be like intellectually challenged and have like fun working, like I honestly, like there wasn't a single time in the class where like I was like really like dreading stuff. Like there was every day there was something cool, and especially from the instructors. The instructors are very diverse and like their experience and their backgrounds, to where like they have all these like fun stories and fun teaching methods to like bring you in. Funny enough, there was one, his last name was Mr. Krotz, and I was like, they have to be like from the same, like him and Mr. I'm like, him and Mr. Cry, they got to be from the same region. Like their families, there's got to be, because he was also a redhead too. But he was an amazing instructor. Like it's been a while since I've been like truly engaged. So like to have, like, he was an amazing instructor.
No, fantastic. Now, I know, unless it's changed, because I know there's a means of how to get certifications through Schoolhouse on the requesting process. I know it's just very case by case and kind of basis on requesting those through the Schoolhouse. How would you say, so the short answer, everybody, yes, you can get some certifications from your AIT. However, they will come from our cyber's Schoolhouse if you have the means and approval from your instructors, like to do vouchers like for your Security Plus, Linux, CASP, CISSP. However, it's not sometimes always approved when you're going through the 17 Charlie course. Ourselves, when we were also going through 170 Alpha, we were able to request 2 certifications a quarter. I know, sorry, not sorry, go warrant. But I guess my next follow-up question, Alex, would be, how would you say AIT prepared you for real-world cyber operations, as obviously we're in the reserves and you got your first job in cybersecurity this last year? How would you say with 17 Charlie? Because a lot of folks also ask, like, hey, if I go 17 Charlie, will that open doors for me on the civilian side to leverage the skills I'm going to learn?
So funny enough, I was actually talking with my boss about it the other day, and he was joking with it. So I work for Leidos right now, and he was telling me that like he swears like these 17 Charlies after I joined, all these 17 Charlies just start popping up in Leidos's recruiting pool. But I would say I've noticed from my experience, it's really easy. So like it prepares you very well. It's just about like you have to like make the connection of how to translate it over, because unfortunately there are some, and just like any job, there are some 17 Charlies that like kind of don't like, it's like a muscle. And I'm sure everyone's heard this over and over again. Like it's like a muscle. You got to work it out to keep it in shape. It's the same thing with 17, where it's like the school will set you up with a lot of ability, because honestly, the biggest takeaway I got from them was how to learn quickly and adapt quickly in any sort of technical environment.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of companies want. They won't say it because I could go into the whole recruiter thing, unfortunately, but a lot of companies, they want people that they can teach, because they're going to teach you no matter what your skill level is. They're not going to just bring you in and just, hey, right into the fire, for compliance reasons. But, it's one of those things where they're trying to find people that can learn quickly. I've been told by my boss, supposedly I'm doing an amazing job. I still feel like an imposter at my work.
Why?
But
Not an imposter. You're doing a good job. Just to emphasize.
But yeah, it definitely teaches you how to process information quickly in a technical environment and how, because that's what they want to, because as a 17 Charlie, one of the things that's cool about America, you know, USA, but we help a lot of our allied nations and a lot of these other nations out that don't have the time, money, and expertise to invest in their cybersecurity, but they need it. And so what we'll do is we'll send guys out there, and we don't know what type of environment they could have. They could have like, maybe they have Splunk and it's just like one server that hasn't been updated since like 2005. Maybe they have Trellix, you know, like you have no idea what they have. So being a 17 Charlie, they prepare you for that eventuality of like, hey, we're going to teach you how to pick up information quickly and how to process it in a way to where you can do your job.
Yeah. We have 2 more questions, Alex, real quick, not to cut you off. So we have, hi, Jack DD. Hi, I've been through EJPT, the PJPT, wondering where I should go from here. PNPT or go for Linux course, because I didn't touch Linux target for a long time. Mostly Windows, mostly AD. So I'll go first on this one. So looking at what you've been going through, I'm guessing maybe red team pen testing is where you're wanting to go on this path. I would probably direct you toward Hack the Box's pen testing certification, which I can't think of the name of it. One, because I've been told, this is also coming from a blue teamer. So I mean, hijack DD, if you're still listening, if you want to drop another comment, if your intent is to go red team, I would tell you to go that route. And then probably, I think industry standard still is OSCP. So prepping for the OSCP and then probably going for that as well. I wouldn't be afraid, even for my red teamers that want to go hands-on and go do exploitation and things like that. Dabble into blue team a little bit, maybe security plus, CYSA at the minimum. But if your intent is to be like a junior pen tester, then yeah, don't worry about the blue team S skills too much. But I think knowing what and how a security tool is going to block or maybe alert to how you're going to be doing your offensive things is important. Because if I'm a blue teamer, and sometimes I've done that with my organizations where I'll ask my red team, like, hey, so did you know CrowdStrike was going to catch this, or this security tool was going to catch this? And they're like, oh, it caught it. And they didn't know by them running those certain commands or functions within their tools, it caused those type of alerts. And I see your comment, you said, yes, red team. So cool. Issue is that, at least for me, Hack the Box Academy is a text-based labs. Yep. Yeah, and I understand that as well. So, but Alex, any advice on that one before I kick you to the next question?
I would definitely say, like, from what I've seen too, I've seen a lot of companies generally recruit their red team guys from people that worked in blue team. I would just, like he said too, and like a lot of them will follow like government requirements. So if you don't have Sec Plus, get that. I'm more blue team focused. Like I still feel like I'm early in my cyber career, but basically with it is, it's like, I've noticed like they need that trust from the blue team of like seeing you prove yourself on blue team, because it's a lot more like low threat, if that makes sense. Like it's easier to recover than it is from a pen test if you mess up. So they want to give you that, like, you have to like build up that trust, if that makes sense. So like, for example, like we have guys that are at Leidos right now with our contract that they're actually moving to other teams that are higher pay and more responsibility, like where they can do more. Like they're moving to incident response, threat hunt, threat intelligence. Like they're moving to these other teams from our tier 1 spot, specifically because they proved themselves on tier 1, and they're like, hey, like let's take you and move you to somewhere cooler. So, yeah,
and then I'll say this, hijack DD as well, and shout out to Tyler Ramsby, Hack Smarter. I would also check out his training platform as well. Anytime Tyler streams, he also opens up his lab, I think, to the room he's working on for folks to get into. Very much, I think, a great way to also prep for your OCP. And unknown when I see your question, and Hack the Box CPTS was the certification. So thank you for that. But yeah, that would be our recommendation. And once again, this is coming from 2 blue teamers. We don't do red team stuff. So, I mean, take that as you will. But if I had to go back in time, or if I was going for red team, that's probably the path I would take. Let's go to the unknown one. His question, what's been the most interesting part of cybersecurity for you, and what has been the hardest? And Alex, I'm sure this is your question because they've heard this from me many a times.
Yeah. Most interesting is when you, as like a junior analyst, get to like find something that someone senior to you missed, or like find a new angle, like to where you present something to like someone that's senior that like has, where they're like, huh, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, you're right. Like it feels awesome to like have that moment of like, oh, like maybe I can do this. It's a really, like where you actually find that thing. It's like, hey, I found the thread, or I found out what this traffic really is. Hardest thing is, I guess it's dealing with like, because you're unfortunately seeing like the worst, like people at their worst time when you're investigating, because they've made a lot of times they made very preventable mistakes, and you'll just see, and you just have to question. Sometimes you'll question. I think you sent me a meme of it the other day of like watching someone that makes twice as much as me struggle to open a PDF, and you can kind of get that feeling where you just like, like lose you're just like, oh my gosh, like why would you do this? Why would you click something that says obviously malware? And when it said, hey, probably shouldn't click this, you still clicked it. Because there's, like, and that's one thing with the CIA triangle too, like a lot of people don't realize is that like, as much as like your organization can prioritize like confidentiality and integrity, users will generally always prioritize accessibility, and they will do so many weird things to get around it. Same thing too, like, oh, mouse jigglers. That's always funny where like it's insane sometimes, like where they download it and they think like, oh yeah, I'm so slick, and it's like, dude, like
No one's gonna know. No
yeah,
one's gonna know. They're gonna
I
know.
had
No one's gonna know.
one of my buddies was telling me they had a guy where he did it as a PowerShell script, which that's like a beacon in like the darkness of like, hey, what's this power? Oh, it's a mouse jiggler that he
you
said.
might as well turn on a lighter, get a blacked out like conference, like, all right, everyone put your lighters in there, then boom, here comes this PowerShell script.
It's just dealing with the unfortunately like the education portion, because it's one of those things where it's like cybersecurity is easy, but it's hard. Like you have to think a way, you have to be taught a certain way, and for a lot of people, like because they don't need to, they won't. And until something happens and they get that training, and it's like, hey, dude, here's your slap on the wrist, don't do that. Like they're gonna keep being kind of like a security threats by accident.
So another question I know I've gotten asked a lot too, Alex, when it comes into that path of getting in 17 Charlie, how much do I need to know on scripting? Do I need to know Python? Do I need to know PowerShell, Bash, Linux? How much am I going to be in command line? What if I'm not a coder? Can you kind of maybe go into some slight detail of like maybe the different levels that you saw during training, and just kind of your explanation of what people should be expecting?
So I saw multiple levels in my class. We had like Corporal Parker, like I said, where he would literally stay up till like 3 a.m. in the morning coding. He was more code than man, I felt like. But he would do that, and then like you had like people like me where it's like the most I had done was freaking IP adder to like try and fix DNS issues or issues with my router. I will say it will be beneficial if you know that stuff, but don't beat your head too much on it, because it's one of those things where it's like it really doesn't matter as much, because they will teach you, and they're going to teach you exactly what they want. They don't really get too complicated into it. Like Python, like you're going to do like at most like setting up like a listener. Like it's not challenging stuff. It's very like I like to say I'm a caveman, so like I was able to figure it out and perform pretty well. I did
learn to type.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just listening to them, and it's also like focusing on what they want you to learn. It's kind of like too, like we talk about in the Army a lot, like commander's intent. Like so long as you achieve the commander's intent, you're gonna walk away with a mission success. And that's kind of the idea. Is it's like the way they structure the course. It will teach you exactly what you need to know, and it will give you stuff that you can bring on over that. When I tried to overcome it, the best way I did was like, honestly, starting out, it was just raw, like effort of like beating my head with practice questions over and over again. Yeah. And then also too, like you will have people. So like the way these classes are, you'll have people in there that like, there's people in there that are brand new, like they're younger guys. And then you'll have like guys that have like, yeah, I already have like 10, 15 years of experience in the industry. And so it's always important to find those people and talk to them. Same thing too with the instructors. The cyber school is very particular on its instructors, and they will focus in on making sure that your instructors are the best that they can provide. They are super great at like teaching. They will teach you everything you need to know. They'll teach you like even little tips and tricks that may not be like course, like the way the course wants you to do it, but they'll be like, hey man, here's another way to do it. Especially to like phase 1 is more like, obviously there is correct answers, but phase 2, hey man, if you get to the end, like if you got to the end of this capture the flag, like congratulations, you won. Like,
yeah, you're doing it. Like, yep.
Yeah.
Another question from Hijacked, and I think this one's going to kind of somewhat fall under the imposter syndrome question of it. So going through Blue Team is like going through a roller coaster of emotions. During that study process, sometimes I can feel maybe I'm smart or good enough for that because there is so much on the topic. Follow up, would love to hear how you overcame that. So Alex, you are probably my shining example of coming and bringing you into the fold of leaving the MP world and getting into cybersecurity. And I've shared Alex's story with folks that want to go into cyber as well, where Alex and I ran into each other at a data center. He was doing physical security, and he was talking about trying to get into cyber. And wildly enough, I just went over to that unit. And by us kind of networking and reconnecting, I was able to pull him back into the fold to do an interview with my unit. And he killed it. They gave him some do-outs saying, hey, you have to do this, you have to get your security plus, you have to do this. And within a month, he did it. Now, Hijack DD, I'll tell you right now, like, you're not wrong. Getting into cybersecurity, no matter what field you're getting into, whether that's security, whether that's GRC, whether that's dev, system admin, pen testers, SOC manager, CISOs, there's going to be days where you're going to not know anything. You're going to feel like one day you're super smart. The next day, I'll be hitting up Alex on Sunday. I'm like, yo, man, how do I log into the Splunk instance? Like, my password's not working. Or, hey, is this our server? Or is this the correct index? And it's like sometimes you just have those off days. And I think Alex mentioned it to you, where it's like, that's where I always emphasize folks to really hit the fundamentals and be strong in your fundamentals. But Alex, I'd like to hear kind of from you, what are some ways that you try to keep yourself on top of your game and not let kind of that imposter syndrome or feeling that you don't deserve to be here aspect because I don't know all the answers? What's your way of getting around that?
So some of it is number one, it's almost like going to the gym. It's kind of letting go of pride, because people forget too sometimes that like having an overwhelming sense of pride can manifest itself as shame. So like, like there's a lot of people that don't want to go to the gym because they think like, oh, like if I go to the gym, like people are going to be looking at me, they're going to judge me. And it's not like that. And it's the same thing when you're studying, like at Leidos, for example, like on my team, a lot of times, like if you've gone to any sort of school, you'll hear there's no stupid questions. And then you'll ask a question, they'll be like, well, that was a stupid question. But like Leidos, for example, like, like humbling myself and being like, hey, like, I don't know this. I want to learn how to do this. Please tell me. Helps me to where they break it down, because the other side of it too is like same thing too with like a lot of like actual like managers and stuff. Like what they're looking for is they're looking for someone that they can teach, that knows their limits. And same thing too, like, one of the other things I'll do too, like if I like, it's a marathon, not a race. Like,
yep.
If you're not getting something, like, especially like when I was studying for Sec Plus, like it was hard for me because there were a lot, like I started out getting like 50 to like 60% wrong on my little practice tests. And it was just like every day, it was just like beating my head of like, all right, a little bit better each time, a little bit better each time. Like it's taking those small wins of like, hey, like I didn't know that, now I do. And that's where, again, it goes into pride. Like you have to like understand, like, as much as people think like, like there's a lot of like trades where like they have masters and like a lot of stuff like that, like where you can be like, you can know everything about your job. Cyber is not that type of field. You're always going to be the learner. You're always going to be growing. There are some people that I question if maybe they're just like, robots and like, they're robots and like, like they got like a skin suit on or something. Cause like, it's crazy. Like, hey, here's this random system that like, I don't think anyone's ever used. Oh yeah, here's how you do it.
Yeah, I already wrote the man page. I'm like, my guy. It's like, wow, how does he do this? No, 100%. That's funny.
But yeah, and it's just it's having that learner philosophy, that learner idea of like you're always going to be a learner, and like to take the fact of like you're not. It's incapable for someone even in cybersecurity to know everything. because it's always changing. There's that running joke too of like, I think it's like by the time they write it down, it's already outdated.
You're right.
But so it's just having that learner mentality and having like swallowing your pride and just going to people and be like, hey man, I need help. And then because eventually it gets to the point where like right now, like for example, at my work, I just started there in September and I'm now teaching people how to do things. And I kind of sit there. It's almost like the first time you like drive your car where you're just like, oh, I guess I do know something. I guess I do know how to do this.
It's like you had a really good trainer.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, no, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to rapid fire because I only have you for about 10 more minutes. I don't want to keep you past our hour.
I got time to if it runs a little over, if there's more questions.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll keep coming in. Oh, here we go. Another question. Keep dropping them. Hi, Jack DD. Another question. I wonder also when I should niche my learning, like going for mobile PT, Windows Active Directory, IoT. When is the right time to nicheify, if I spell that right?
I can answer that.
Great question, actually. Alex, I'll let you go first.
So starting out, like honestly, like because I'm guessing you're like younger and you're getting into it, I wouldn't niche right now. I would focus more on just having that broad, like inch deep, mile wide knowledge of like just knowing how everything works. Because like if you beat your head and think like, oh, like I want to be in this, I want to do this, I want to focus on this. The problem is number one, there may not be a specific job for you in that environment. And number two, it could be something that you end up finding you're not passionate about. Like for me, like that's part of the reason why I got into cybersecurity is because I really like physical security and working like physical security, like fences and gates and all that. But I realized there was no like way to build a career and a future on that wouldn't like extract, like time off my body, time off my mind. Like it would just, it was one of those things where I looked at it and I'm like, the most I'm going to make is like maybe like 80 grand a year. And that would be if I was a security manager versus like over here in cyber, like I was starting at like over 90K. And it's one of those things where it's just like focusing on that general like field of knowledge to where you can be adaptable and you can fit in any slot they need. And then maybe developing your niche later, because you may find too, like there may be something you're passionate about, but it may not be the thing you're good at. Like I would definitely say for me, like I'm very like, I never thought I'd be good with Splunk. Somehow now I am, to where I'm clearing like 50 plus alerts a day. I'm like on a shift and people are like, what are you doing? But yeah, it's definitely like, I would say like waiting later on. Like I think I've seen like most people, like they'll niche out unless they had some previous experience, like when they were younger, like where they're developing apps when they were like 12 years old or something. But a lot of people, I would say like I've seen like probably niche out like about 10 years into it, or like not even 10, maybe like 5, like where they start, like they have that base level, they've had that base level knowledge and they've realized like, hey, I'm really good at this and I really understand this and I can explain it to people.
As late as 5, as early as 3 is where I'd recommend. So, but I think Alex hits a good nail on the head. And whether you're in your career, you're a student, you're trying to break in, if you specialize in only one specific thing, like, oh, I specialize in Windows AD. Well, then all of a sudden there's a great job that comes around like, oh, but we're a Linux organization. Well, you only specialize in Windows. So I would say once you get into that first role or first organization, that's where you kind of get your time to shine. You kind of touch all the things you want to do. And then that's when you kind of get to really find your passion project. Like, wow, I really like EDR, or wow, I really like networking, or wow, I really like the back end on doing dev work. And then that's where you can then kind of take in that, or I love doing SCADA systems. And that's where you can then kind of tone in, like I'm going to go specialize and focus on those fields. Because I think like Alex said, for a lot of folks trying to break into the field, as you're early in your career trying to find that perfect position, that's the best route that's going to be. So sometimes you have to be a kind of jack of all trades, master of none, to kind of be able to show that, look, like you can do everything. And then once you kind of get into that, figure out what the teams do, figure out what that kind of looks like, you can kind of strengthen your overall kind of resume or playbook, is I guess maybe my thought piece of it too. So, but yeah, no, good questions. Alex, next one I have on the Army side is, if you were prepping for 17 Charlie now, knowing the experience of going through the course, would there be any certifications or training platforms that you would prefer and why?
I would definitely say if you could take any sort of like cybersecurity, like in a class, in a classroom environment, try to do that, or computer science class, just because it helps put you in the right headspace, for that classroom environment. If you can, it's one of those things where it's like you can end up doing like a little bit more harm than good because you can develop some bad habits and like you can rely because like working through it and like learning everything definitely set me up for like to where like when I hit phase 2, like there were a lot of people that would struggle in phase 2 because you started going into an environment where it was more like it was less regurgitating and it was more thinking on your own. Like we noticed that there was a lot of people that they failed one of the tests because they got in to where they needed to get into, and then it's like, what do I do now? And it's just because they hadn't developed that training, like that thought process over the course of this, because they have been relying a lot on their like experience and what they knew before they went to the school. But yeah, I would definitely, I mean, if, I guess too, you could review like the introductory stuff on like try hack me of like bash. You could do Linux, you could do Windows, just kind of knowing like just basic stuff, like focusing on the basics is the big thing. It's like, what is it? I guess like it's like what is it, Iroh from like Avatar with like firebending, where he's like focus on your basics, it will save your life. And it's the same thing. Like there were guys that definitely like did like they knew a lot and like they were college educated and they went in and like they definitely succeeded in a lot of areas, but then they still would struggle in others. Then you'll get like the guys that are like they're almost like I said, like robots or mutants, where like it's literally like their hands are more at home on a keyboard than anything else. Like there's one guy there where he was brand new to the army and he went to the cool like SOCOM side of things where like he was doing like really cool stuff. And he just like I think he like aced the test or something, like because they'll give a test if you want to go do that stuff, and he just freaking dominated. Like he was a wicked smart guy.
Nice. Awesome. I guess another good question, what are the biggest misconceptions about going 17 Charlie on why folks might talk themselves out of it to not go?
I wouldn't even say it's like folks talking themselves out of it. A lot of times, unfortunately, it's their career counselors and their recruiters because they think it's harder than actually it is. So like we were told too, like when I was there for 17 Charlie numbers, there are less 17 Charlies than there are Green Berets. And most of those 17 series are in training. And the reason why is because the training is so long and it's very like, there's a lot of people, especially when they're younger, we notice like a lot of the younger personnel had like a harder time because they didn't have good study habits. Like they couldn't lock in, so to say. So they would like, they'd fail a bunch of stuff. So it'd keep them there longer because you have to like, if you fail, so basically you have like, you can either, if you fail the same module 3 times, you're done. If you fail 5 modules in total per phase, and this is for both phases, so like 3 modules for one or 5 in total for one for phase 1 or phase 2, then that they will unfortunately ask you, they'll be honest with you. They'll be like, look, like we're not calling you dumb, but you just cannot learn at the speed we need you to learn. So we're going to look for a different MOS for you.
Yeah.
Which is true. A lot of it's just like how quickly you can process information. But with that, like when you fail the first, so basically what will be is if you fail your first test, they will give you remedial training. You'll figure it out. And then they'll have you take the test again the next day. So you'll spend that night being like, okay, what did you get wrong? Right. And
I was about to say, keep this in mind. On top, you're doing this on top of having to try to stay on top of the schedule. So it's not like, oh yeah, we're going to retest you in a day or two. Like, no, you are now staying after that day to now get your remedial training, and you'll likely retest the following day, either before or after, like the next block of instruction. Usually before, because they're not trying to like
for 17, they'll do it before. They won't because they want you to focus down on it. So it'll put everyone else on hold too while they wait. So you're kind of just like, if you pass the test, you're kind of twiddling your thumbs. But you also know too, like when you finish your test, you'll know if you passed or failed.
Yeah, it's instant. That's the pro con of knowing.
Yeah, and so, but basically, what would end up happening is, so like if you fail that, then what happens is they pull you out, and then you wait for another class to have an opening which for some of them can be difficult because if everyone passes the module before, likely when they get to that one, everyone will be there. So you won't have a spot to go because the third, before you take the third one, they run you through the entire module again. And then they give you one more shot. And then if you can't do it, that's where they like, hey, sorry, man, we tried.
Yeah. Well, Alex, I got you for 2 more minutes, and I want you with the last question, which I think is a pretty important one. If there were 3 tips that you could give somebody to have a major advantage in going to 17 Charlie, what would those three tips be and why?
I would definitely say knowing how to operate without caffeine. Well, more specific. Well, I guess they did get it there because they did have vending machines, but like, I guess just knowing how to like operate, like to think when you're tired can be hard. Cause that was one thing a lot of the privates I noticed too, like, struggle with was, hey, like they'd show up and they'd just be exhausted. And it's like, hey, it's test day today, guys, let's go. And they're like struggling to stay awake in class, unfortunately. But you know, it's the same thing. I would definitely say that PT, big one, knowing your customs and courtesy. Like a lot of the simple stuff recruiters tell you of like, just learn this stuff. Same thing. If you can, if you understand subnetting, Bash, PowerShell, and Python, that will be a huge leap for you too. And I guess just working on study habits, like knowing how to study, because like, to be honest too, if you're studying any more than like an hour for some of these tests, they tell you straight up too, if you're spending like 6 hours studying every night, they're like, you're doing it wrong. Like at most you should be studying for like maybe 1 to like 3 hours at most. And that's like, you know, if that, like my buddy and I, we used to study for like maybe like an hour or 2, and we just like video call from our bears rooms where it's like, hey, like, what'd you get for this one? Like, cause I'm working through this and I'm like, I can't remember what this was. And they'll be like, oh, it's this. Yeah. So they give you a lot of tools to help you too. Like they build a lot of really good like retention programs. So yeah, it's just, you know, learning how to study is definitely one of the biggest things I saw for people.
No, fantastic. Well, I'm going to give it to the audience for our few folks feeling. Any final questions for Alex before I cut him loose? And I'll give it a few seconds for those to respond. But regardless, Alex, so glad I got to have you back on, dude. And fantastic to see you, man. We'll probably see you next week. So, but we'll make sure we catch up. But yeah, no. For anyone that's contemplating joining the service, like I think Alex and I can both attest, there's so many pros and cons to it. And whether that's in the Army, that's in the Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Navy, if you're looking into cyber, the military is a great means of getting in. I think the military is probably one of the only organizations at the age of 18 you can be a system admin, with some pretty rockin' senior aspects of permissions. Not saying that you can't do it on the civilian side for maybe some smaller mom and pop shops, but yeah, definitely opens up a lot of doors as well. So, well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for coming on. Alex, as always, I really appreciate you coming back on as well and let me see you for an hour. So I owe you lunch. Let me know. I'll see you this week and we'll make it happen. But hey, everybody, thanks so much for staying tuned. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe as always. And yeah, if you see this, get out of here, Robert. Go Air Force. Hold on. Congratulations, you get on stream. Go Air Force. Boo, boo this man. Boo, boo. No.
I will tell you too, unlike the Air Force though, the Army, if you score on the test, the Army will immediately drop you into 70 Charlie if you're like, this is all I want to do.
Yeah.
Air Force and Navy, and I believe not the Navy, I think Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps all do generally based on the needs of the service. You know, where it's basically like, hey, like if you are like, if we need, like, if you score high enough for this, but you want to do this, nah, man, we need this. So I definitely would say too, the Army is, and even the military in general, is also the only place that actually will see your potential and train you to your potential. You know, and I will say too, like, I know I have a bunch of family members too, because I've suggested for them. A lot of people get concerned and they think the Army is like how do I put it? They think the Army is almost like this, like how it is in the movies where it's like, oh, it's just like yelling and like all these like stereotypical dudes like doing this. And I'm like, I watched people get in a fight over anime one time in my old MP unit. Like it's pretty funny. It's not as the movies depict. It's pretty like good group of guys, and you'll have a lot of fun. You'll make lifetime connections. I had like honestly with I just had my wedding recently. I had Mr. Crotty and like 3 other people that I knew from the MP Corps there. That like 3 of those other 3, I met them in a Humvee on a random range, and it was like lifetime friendship right there. But yeah, I definitely say like if people try to steer your way, it's not what people think it is. It's actually a very like nice environment, especially cyber. It's more corporate like than Army in a lot of ways. Like we scheduled someone decided our birthday would be Labor Day weekend, so we never do a birthday run. Greatest thing ever. I love it.
All right, Alex. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for staying tuned for this last hour. As always, we will catch you on the next episode of Breaking Into Cyber, or for our 17 Charlie Ask Me Anything, or hopefully maybe soon a 170 Alpha Ask Me Anything for those wanting to go and drop a warrant packet. So awesome. Well, everybody, thanks so much for staying tuned, sticking around for this last hour. Alex, thank you so much